Hey guys, it's Charlene. Today I'm going to be showing you how to take pretty much any stamp set and turn it into a shaker card. It's really fun. I'm going to be using the Mom's Day clear stamps as well as the coordinating dies and the Falling Hearts cover plate from Photoplay paper Say It with stamps. So let's get started. For this card, I'm going to stamp out the large floral bouquet as well as what I'm using as a vase. Now this stamp was intended to be a picture frame, but I'm using it as a square vase and it's going to look really nice. So that's a tip for you. Definitely when you're looking at your stamp sets, take a second look at them and see if there is a different way you can use a particular stamp. So I'm stamping this out with some Copic friendly ink, and I will link down below as well in the description to all of the products that I'm using today if you have any questions. So now I'm coming in, I'm colored everything with Copic markers. I'll link below to all the different colors I'm using, but I wanted to show you in particular how I'm coloring the vase piece. So you can see I've come in on the side with a little bit darker of a color, and this is going to help to create your vase so that it looks like there is water inside of it. So once I have colored everything in, I'm putting it back in my MISTI. I've kept my stamps on the door. I haven't done anything with them. And I'm going to do a second stamping. This really helps make your stamped images pop. It just kind of brightens everything up and gives it a little bit more definition. You also could stamp with clear embossing ink and then heat emboss, and that would look really nice as well. I'm just coming in again with a second layer of that black Copic friendly ink. So once I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and cut everything out with the coordinating dies. I think this flower bouquet is so pretty, and you could color these flowers in pretty much any colors you want to. I was just using some pinks and oranges and blues and purples because I thought those all really went well together and created a nice spring look to the card. So once you get that cut out, you're going to go ahead and cut out the vase piece as well. We're going to make the vase into our shaker element on this card. So when you're looking at your stamps and you're trying to figure out, okay, what could I use to create into a shaker element? You want to look for something that's going to have enough room on the inside. So you're going to see I'm going to stamp out again that vase piece. I'm going to do the same exact coloring. Only what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my craft knife and I'm going to cut out the inside of this piece to create a window. So you can see I'm going to cut it out with my die. Then I'm going to go ahead and use my craft knife to cut out the center. You can see I've done that there. And then I'm coloring it in the exact same way that I colored the initial stamp. So I've got that light blue, and then along the edges I'm bringing in a slightly darker shade of the blue. So it's gonna look like you have your vase and then you have this floating piece in front of it, which we're gonna pop up with foam tape, and then you put acetate on the back so that way it creates a shaker window. So what I'm going to do here, because I want it to look like the flowers are actually inside of the vase, I went ahead and cut out a little tiny piece from the top because I'm going to put the flowers underneath that top part and then glue them there with the tails of the flowers on the bottom part. It makes a little bit more sense as you see me doing it here. So I'm going to put some glue on the back here of that top piece, and then I'm going to put some on the bottom front part. Just watch. It's kind of hard to describe, but you can do this, like I said, with pretty much any stamp that's going to have enough space where you can cut out the center of it using a craft knife. And it's really easy with something that's square like this because I literally just cut out a square. That's all I did. And once I have that done, I can come in with my acetate here and glue it to the back of the piece with some liquid adhesive. I could just cut it down to size with some scissors. There's no fancy cutting going on here or anything like that. And then I will pop it up with foam tape so that way I can put in some shaker bits. Now for this particular card, I'm just using some clear iridescent gems. I think it looks really nice because it kind of makes it look like the vase filler that you would see in an actual vase. You know how sometimes you put those really pretty rocks down in the bottom of vases? That's the look I was going for here. I wanted it to look like there was some really pretty vase filler on the inside of the vase, only when you shake this card, those pretty gems are gonna shake all around. Now I have set that off to the side to let it dry, and I just put a small acrylic block on top to kind of hold it down while the acetate piece was drying. So now I've got my foam tape here, and I'm using some Heffy Doodle foam tape strips, which work really well for shaker cards, I have found. So once I get that how I like it, I'm going to go ahead and take a few of those gems out because I want it to be able to shake around pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and take off the release tape from the foam tape and get everything adhered. I really love this card. I think it is so pretty. I love how you can see the water behind the gems. It's just really fun. So I'm planning on doing this a lot more often with my stamps because I do like shakers, but oftentimes I'm like, okay, I've made a shaker window. What's next? What else can I do? And now looking at my stamps, I just see there's so many different stamps that I have that I could actually make into a shaker. Now, I think flower vases in particular look gorgeous with this technique. So once I get that on there, I'm going to let it dry, and then you saw earlier in the video I went ahead and cut out that Falling Hearts cover plate. I used that on a piece of white cardstock and cut it out. And so I'm going to be using that with this shaker element and then some really pretty tealish blue paper. But look at those shaker bits. They look so pretty behind there. So you can see I've got this piece of tealish blue paper that I'm using, and I've got my cover plate die cut of the Falling Hearts. Now this is a really versatile cover plate because you could use it for Valentine's Day, you could use it for I love you cards, you could use it for Mother's Day cards like I'm doing here today. There's just a lot of different ways you can use this by changing up what color you cut it out from as well as what color you put behind the cover plate. You could also use it for some dry embossing. I think that would look really pretty on a card as well. You can see I've glued it to the colored cardstock, and then I'm just trimming along the top to make sure that I don't have that overhang. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pop up my shaker piece on top of the card. It's going to create some extra dimension here, which is really going to take the card up to the next level. It's going to have the dimension of the full shaker piece popping up, and then it's also going to have the dimension of the popped up shaker. So you've got a lot to look at. It's just a really pretty fun springy style card. And once I get all of the pieces on there, I'm going to go ahead and remove the release paper and get that adhered down on the top of my card. If you want to make sure that your shaker pieces kind of move around freely inside of your shaker window or your shaker element like I have here, there's a couple of different things you could do. I do find that using a thicker style of foam tape does work really well with shaker cards, but you also can double up your foam tape to get that added dimension. And you can use some type of anti-static powder tool, or you can even use a dryer sheet to rub around on the inside to keep things from sticking to the edges and the top. I find that with this Heffy Doodle tape, I really don't have much of a problem with things sticking, so that's really nice as well. So now I'm stamping off here in some pigment ink. I wasn't sure which color I wanted to use. So you can see I've got that teal paper up there on the top, as well as now a piece of white paper. I've stamped both of these with the I Love You Mom sentiment from the Mom's Day set, and then I heat emboss them with some clear embossing powder. And sometimes I'll do that when I'm not sure what color I want to use. I will just stamp it out on a couple of different colors, and then I have them all done at once, so I'm not having to break out all of my embossing powder and heat gun and all of that multiple times. I just do them all at once. So I ultimately decided to use the white cardstock, but then I framed it with a piece of the teal cardstock. And you can easily do that by just cutting out your sentiment, gluing it to the corner of whatever piece you want to use to frame it, and then you just have two sides that you need to cut. I'm using my mini trimmer. I find it super helpful for things like this. You know, obviously it's not necessary. You could use some scissors, you could use a large trimmer. If you have dies to cut out sentiments, you could try and find one that fits well, some style of small rectangular die. But I really like using that mini trimmer because it gives me a little bit more control over what size I'm going to make the edges of my border. So now I have popped this up as well with some foam tape so that it is the same level as the shaker element, which I think is a lot of fun. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue the entire thing down to my card base. I just love this card. I think it's so pretty. You guys will have to let me know down in the comments what you think, as well as let me know other ideas that you have for turning your stamps into shaker elements. I think this is just a really fun thing to do. Okay, so I'm using the Happy Mother's Day sentiment on the inside of my card, and I have it taped down just so I can get things on there well, and then let the pigment ink that I'm using for this dry before I close my card. So here's my finished card, guys. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you find some time to get crafty today. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Please be sure to like and subscribe, as well as hit that notification bell so I can continue bringing you crafty content in the future. Until next time, happy crafting.